is kind of boring if you ask me. I don't know, I can't say I do like the back of this. Unless, of course, you're towing 3,500 pounds, which you can tow, because, hey, at the end of the day, that is important, because that guy can only tow 2,000 pounds, and does have trailless weight control, and when the key's in your pocket, I can kick this thing, and then the gate will open up. So how much room do we have in the back of the Santa Fe? So let's take a quick measurement here, and we've got 44 inches deep. Are we close to 46 in terms of width? Nice, almost 47, sweet. As far as height goes, 31, that's sort of standard. So yes, this does have more room in the back than that Mitsubishi Outlander. But how about underneath here? Okay, put my finger underneath the pole. All right, not a whole lot. Obviously you have your tools there, but underneath here, which is the theoretical 7-passenger, nice. We've got 3 separate compartments. You can put 3 individual. Voila, it closes down. There is a cigarette lighter. You can plug your cigarette stuff in here for a pump or whatever you like to use it for. And then 2 buttons that fold down the seats. Let's hit the left one because I missed pressing it. And voila, it goes down. But how much room do we have to the back of that console? This is a big vehicle. Wow, just over 6 feet. Nice. Wowzers. Let's jump in the back seat and see how they feel. Back seat of the Hyundai Santa Fe.
I can't even get past the beginning, so I don't know why I'm trying it, but let's just try it. I'm gonna get very frustrated because BS is this game, but whatever. I never got to turn on my webcam. Great. As long as I don't want to turn on my webcam, that means I have to end stream. I don't know what I do. My mouse lagged. It's on keyboard, my mouse lags. And it's like it's getting killed. What the hell? My mouse is lagging. close as possible so that the game gets to get but we can't get back to getting like at all.
politeness.
Thank you for depositing 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
This time.
Shit. I told you guys I don't have headphones, so I can't hear. Like all my headsets are broke. They all work, so I can't hear. But I come. Like I can't hear.
Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins.
Ready to...
Please deposit 5 coins. Please, you are. Thank you for depositing 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins. For depositing 5. Thank you for depositing 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins. You are. Please deposit. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
about getting coins deposit. Great. Okay, I just got lucky.
Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
Oh shit! I forgot about the news. Oh shit, yeah. How many times has that happened?
Thank you for depositing 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
Oh, fuck you, fuck. Fuck. Again, skip my language. I'm gonna die fast. Freaking amazing. Broken ass.
Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
Oh, fuck. Fuck. No point. Fuck you.
5 coins.
Breaking low. Mario almost to stage 1. Once you get to stage 1, it goes to shit. Time starts going up really fast once you get to stage 1.
Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
Stage 2. Look at things. Learn what I got there. Break it though.
Thank you for depositing 5 coins. Deposit 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
Smile.
Come on, don't worry, fucking man.
Please deposit 5. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
Grab that huge flash. Jesus. Look at chat. Missions.
prepares for the inevitable electrification era, they decided to do one final send-off to the 2023 300. I'm at the 2022 Detroit International Auto Show, and this right here is the 2023 300C. Let's take a first look. Now, the Chrysler 300 has always been the brand's halo full-size sedan, and the 300C has always been kind of the pinnacle of the 300 lineup, at least until they offered the SRT, which they haven't offered since 2014. Now that we have the C back, which, by the way, Chrysler's only going to build around 2,000 of these for the 2023 model year, what they did essentially is gave us an SRT8 at a discount, because this has the same powertrain as something like the Charger Scat Pack. This is the company's big block 6.4-liter naturally aspirated pushrod Hemi V8, and this makes 485 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque. That's right, nearly 500 horsepower in the big 300 sedan is a pretty impressive amount. And if you guys are also keeping score, this also increases the output versus the old SRT, which they discontinued back in 2015, up from 470 now to 485. They also replaced the old 5-speed automatic in that vehicle, and they've gone with that quick shifting 8-speed ZF transmission. So again, the company is claiming performance should be 0 to 60 in around 4.3 seconds, which should make this, again, a very impressive offering if you guys are looking for a 4-door muscle car. But let's go ahead and close the hood. I want to show you guys the styling of this vehicle really quick. As you can see, this has been around for a long time. Chrysler really knows how to milk an old platform, because this goes back to the era of Daimler Chrysler, because it shares components with something like the Mercedes-Benz E-Class and the Mercedes-Benz S-Class from over a decade ago. But they've also made this vehicle still distinctively Chrysler-esque in its design. The grille, you can see, has been updated. There's the new Heritage Tricolor 300C logo, which we haven't seen since the 1950s era. You can see also the LED daytime running lights have that older jewel-style design. Projector bi-xenon headlights with an incandescent turn signal, and then there are some LED fog lights down here. I really like it in this white exterior with the black accents. Chrysler will only offer this in 3 colors, basically black, red, and this bright white, which with the black accents I think makes for a really interesting looking design. And because this is basically on the same platform as the Charger and Challenger, it is obviously going to be a much larger vehicle versus a lot of its competitors. Its wheelbase is around 120 inches long. Its overall length is just shy of 200 inches long. The wheels, as you can see, also are unique finish on the 300. It is almost like taking a trip through a time machine, because it really reminds me from cars in the early 2010 era, although it does have a few modern leather stitching along the dashboard, where this is actual genuine leather, it looks like, with some genuine stitching. It's kind of carried over. The steering wheel itself also gets some contrasting stitching, where you also have a power tilt and telescoping, but a lot of the switch here, as you can see, looks like this is from the early 2000 era for Chrysler. Like a small analog or a small digital display here with a traditional analog tach and speedometer. The 8.4-inch touchscreen here, this uses the Uconnect 4 system. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Surprisingly, this used to be big when it first came out, but it's starting to look a little bit small. I don't particularly love all the plastic along with this traditional analog clock, but hey, if you guys like more traditional elements, this has your name all over it. There is some new carbon fiber trim that's kind of splashed throughout. That's kind of the unique feature about the 300C. And then there's also a really cool feature as well. The seats are heated. The cup holders are also heated and cooled. So this was one of the first cars, I believe, to introduce heated and cooled cup holders. And it's kind of a rarity in the segment, so it's kind of nice that they include that. These seats remind me a lot of something like what you get on the Charger Scat Pack trim. You can see it's got 300C embossed in it. They are a little bit more aggressively bolstered, but they're also kind of a little bit on the wider side to accommodate a wider frame. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat of this vehicle, because it is a big sedan, but the back seat doesn't really offer the kind of space that I was looking for, although it is still very usable. I believe there's around 38 inches of legroom back here, and then you can see here the panoramic roof does take in some space. You can see for taller drivers, it does have a little cutout there. The materials are pretty much the same as the front, and then the seats themselves, they're very wide and they have a lot of support for your thighs. You have rear seat air vents, 2 level heated seats with USB-A charging ports, and then over here you can see there's an armrest that folds down. Nice little storage. 500 300 horsepower in the final model year of the 300 is a very Mopar way of doing things. And I have to say, I like what I'm seeing. Even though this car is definitely old, it is a great send-off because remember, Chrysler's only going to build around 2,000 of these, and they also already announced pricing. Pricing starts at $56,595. There are no options to add. You basically just choose your color and hope you can actually get your name on the list because they are only going to be offering 2,000 vehicles for the 2023 model year, which again is a very limited number. But for those of you who want nearly 500 horsepower, you should definitely head over to your local Chrysler dealership and get your hands on this vehicle because it is going to offer a lot of cheap speed. But for other reviews here at the 2022 Detroit International Auto Show, I'm Sofyan Bey.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. We are in the secret recording studio set because we have the introduction of the redesign of not only an American icon, but definitely an institution in mode. Look at this. This is where you're going to set up your preferences. You want suspension in sport? Look at that. It's like playing Gran Turismo. You want steering in sport? Boom. Just so you know, the steering rack has a quicker steering ratio. Obviously, they went through the whole chassis, new brakes, the whole 9 yards. And then, of course, the exhaust modes, which we'll get more to that in a second. But why not go ahead and get out of this? My color. Now you have, it's just like a box of Crayola crayons. You could sniff the crayons and you could change the color of the interior lighting. Easy peasy, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm right back to home. Working our way down, more of that carbon fiber 3D style to it. I like what they did with the bright red start-stop button. They kept some physical buttons, which are nice, and an actual volume knob. The one thing I am going to zonk is that all AC controls are through the...
The Ford Mustang. This is one of those nameplates that really needs no introduction. It's been around in the US for nearly 60 years, and Ford is claiming that for the last 7 years, this has been the best-selling sports coupe in the world. Therefore, when an all-new version is introduced, it's a really big deal, and today I'm at a studio just outside of Detroit, Michigan with the all-new 2024 Ford Mustang. It's now known internally as the S650. It's now in its 7th generation, and Ford is saying it's returning with a choice of a Turbo 4 or a 5-liter V8 engine. So you guys have been super excited. I know a lot of enthusiasts out there have been waiting. I've been waiting. Let's go ahead and finally take a look at the all-new Ford Mustang. So the current generation Mustang, known as the S550, has been around since 2014. So obviously, it was time for Ford to give the Mustang a full redesign. And we've been waiting a long time because a lot of people were speculating that Ford was going to go all electric for this new version. Well, I'm happy to report that this Mustang here doesn't even offer a hybrid powertrain, nor are they going to offer an electric version. Ford is basically claiming that this is going to be the last of the internal combustion engine Mustangs until an all-electric version shows up sometime by the next decade. But since we've finally got the new S650 in the flesh to show you guys what this is like, let's go ahead and talk about the styling, because Ford says they wanted this car to have an edgier, more sophisticated, more modern look, and it definitely has a lot of cues here that I'm really liking on this design. First of all, this particular one that I'm showing you is a GT performance version. It's going to be available in EcoBoost, in a premium package, and a GT base and a GT premium. This is the GT with the performance package. You're going to know it's a GT from several new styling elements. First of all, Ford is saying that the GTs have a unique front clip. You can see the grille is completely different. In past Mustangs, the GTs used to just have a slightly different grille insert. Now, as you can see, the grille is gloss black. All the GTs will have a gloss black grille, along with a gloss black hood extractor, and then you can see here there are these two little nostrils to the side of the actual hood. Those nostrils are there because it's functional. This now has a dual air intake system for the V8, so it was necessary again to allow engine to pass through. A lot of the other vents that you're seeing are also functional. There are some functional vents along the front underbody of the vehicle, and then over here, as you can see on this area, it's actually closed off because Ford says that there is a washer fluid reservoir behind that. They decided to close it off because you didn't want to have to see some ugly washer reservoir bottle back there. But on the driver's side, it is actually a functional heat extractor vent for the oil cooler. The headlights, as you can see, very traditional look that you expect from Mustangs. You have the signature 3 light LED. You still have sequential LED turn signals. You have LED low and high beams. No fog lights on the vehicle, but you can see there's like this new brow that goes along the front fascia. It gives the Mustang kind of a wider appearance. Keep in mind, this is the GT Performance. It's going to have a slightly more aggressive front fascia. I really like it in this particular spec. This is a new color for 2024. It's called Vapor Blue Metallic. It looks almost kind of grayish in this light. It's a very modern color. It's very much trendy. A lot of manufacturers are seeming to be offering a color like this for all their vehicles. Now, underneath the hood, sadly, I can't pop the hood for you. We have a choice of either a 2.3-liter EcoBoost turbocharged engine. Ford says it's going to be more powerful and more efficient than the last year. And then, of course, there's this model here, which continues to use Ford's 5-liter Coyote naturally aspirated V8. Now, sadly, I don't have power figures just yet for either engines, but you can take your pick between either a 6-speed manual or a 10-speed automatic, and Ford is claiming that this V8 is now in its 4th generation. It's got dual throttle bodies, like I mentioned earlier. It's going to be the most powerful version of the Coyote V8. How much more power? Well, we can only speculate because the previous generation made between 450 to 470 horsepower. I'm going to suspect that Ford's going to be targeting the upper end, especially for the base GT. Maybe the performance package will add a little bit more power, and then when they eventually come out with other versions, Ford will probably try to get closer and closer to that 500 horsepower mark, which would make this engine a 100 horsepower per liter motor that's also naturally aspirated. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the side profile, because Ford says that this Mustang is running on a modified version of the S550 chassis, which means we've got a fully independent suspension. You can see they also made the side profile a little bit more aggressive. It's actually, Ford says, about the same size. It rides on the same 107-inch long wheelbase. Its overall length is around 188 inches long, so this is not quite as big as a Dodge Challenger, but it's a little bit larger versus a Chevrolet Camaro. The wheels you can see on this particular one, Ford is going to offer a choice between either a 17 or a 19 or a 20-inch wheel, which is going to be optional. This GT with the performance package has a black finish 19-inch wheel. You can see it's riding on 255/40 R19 Pirelli P0 summer tires. The backs are a little bit wider. They're 275s, and then you can see the brakes, massive. These are almost 16-inch diameter rotors, 6-piston Brembo calipers in the front, 4-piston in the rear, and then you can see here the caliper here is actually painted in grabber blue. That's a new color option that you can get in addition to the red and black painted caliper. The grabber blue with the vapor blue here, it's just a really great color combination. I love how Ford is kind of offering that customization. They're really known for that, of course, with most of the Mustang models. Now, again, you can tell it's a GT because of the 5-liter badge here. Only the GTs will include that. There's also a black side mirror and then a black painted roof. Ford, I don't believe Ford still doesn't offer a sunroof on the Mustang. If you want the sun in your hair or the wind in your face and the sun beating down on you, you can still buy this vehicle as a convertible or a coupe like this model here. And then looking over here at this profile, Ford says that they actually lowered the belt line to give you slightly better visibility, and they also made these haunches here a little bit wider. This kind of gives me a little bit more like Dodge when I stare at this from the side profile, but you can't argue the fact that this looks more aggressive, and that's kind of something that Ford wanted to do with this all-new Mustang. Now, moving over to the rear of the vehicle, this is where I find the look to be slightly more controversial. I mean, you still have the signature look here with the 3-bar tail lights, which, by the way, all of them have sequential turn signals in the front and in the rear. But you can see here, there's this area here where it almost kind of like has a boomerang shape for the taillight. It almost has like somebody like did a karate chop here. It makes the rear look a lot more aggressive. It looks good, however, with this wing spoiler, this pedestal spoiler, which I saw the car without the spoiler. It looks totally naked without it. So my recommendation, get it with this configuration because it looks really aggressive. It actually almost looks slightly wider to the naked eye, but Ford says, again, the dimensions are pretty much the same as the previous generation. You can see there's a new badge over here. It says GT, but it actually has performance inscripted in the top portion of the badge here, which is a new addition. It's going to, again, remind people that you have a slightly more special GT. You can see there's your backup camera. The rear diffuser here also is slightly more aggressive. You have your reverse lights over there, and then the exhaust system. Now, Ford is going to offer several different exhausts on this vehicle. They're also going to offer this new feature called Remote Rev. That's right. If you have the key fob on you, you can actually push a button on the fob, and that's going to make the vehicle rev up to basically piss off your neighbors or show off the sound of your 5-liter V8. Ford says that you can get the remote rev on the EcoBoost as well, but you have to get it with the active exhaust. All the GT Performance are going to come with that. I actually can start this up, so we'll go ahead and start it up so you guys can hear what it sounds like real quick. So that V8 engine definitely sounds good. I'm going to miss that sound whenever Ford decides to come out with an all-electric version. I also want to point out that remote rev feature allows you to basically rev it up to around 5,000 RPM. The computer will do that. It'll rev it between 4 to 5 times. Now, there are safety measures in check. If the computer thinks that the engine's not warm enough, and it won't do that for you. But again, it's a great feature to show off or, again, to piss off your neighbors. Now, let's go ahead and show you guys the trunk capacity. Now, I don't have final figures just yet for the actual trunk size, but Ford says that they enlarged the opening slightly, and the old Mustang, they're claiming, had one of the largest trunks in the segment, although Dodge may argue with that with the Challenger, considering how big it was. But you can see here, this trunk here looks pretty similar to the previous generation. The seats do fold down in a 60/40 manner, and then if you look underneath here, you can see no temporary spare, but you do get a fix-a-flat kit, and there's a little bit of storage in there, so that's a pretty good and practical size trunk. So while some of you may be complaining that Ford didn't do too much to make the new Mustang look different on the outside, moving into the interior, you can't argue here because the interior has been completely redesigned from the previous generation. And getting inside and shutting the door, it has a pretty similar solid-sounding thunk as the previous generation, which doesn't surprise me. It's built on the same architecture underneath. Now, this particular one here that I'm showing you, being the GT Performance, includes these Recaro bucket seats. Now, these seats, you can see, are kind of they're colored in like a slate gray with a two-tone. They're really aggressively bolstered. It's perforated leather. You have heated and ventilated seats, which is nice. These seats themselves are manual, but the fact that Ford offers heat and ventilation on the Recaro seats is definitely new. You used to never be able to pair those two together if you guys went for the Recaro seats. You can also get, of course, a standard seat. Ford is going to offer a choice between a cloth, an Active X, which is their fake leather, and then real leather if you guys go for the highest upgraded trims. But you can see here, this interior has this kind of digital cockpit theme. Ford says that they got rid of the dual cowl design. So for those of you who like that of the previous generation, sorry, it's gone. Ford says that dual cowl design really limited the tech team in being able to put a larger screen in this car. And as you can see, the screens are gorgeous. You've got a 12.4-inch full digital cluster here and a massive 13.2-inch display here. Now, this is running on the Sync 4 software, which is the latest. It has over-the-air updates, but it also had its graphics were redone by Unreal Engine. That's actually a gaming software company that redid the graphics, and I'll show you guys that in a moment when we talk about the drive mode selector. But these screens here, it's made of one continuous piece of glass. It's a curved display. It's angled a little bit toward the driver. As you can see, it's a huge improvement over the smaller 8-inch screen that we had in Sync 3 in the previous Mustang. You also had a digital display in the old one, but you can see a lot of the fonts, the graphics just look so much better. It's far more modern. And then when we talk about the interior materials, Ford says they upgraded that. This one here is the higher trim, so you can see the upper part of the door panel is a soft touch injection molded plastic. You have Bang & Olufsen stereo available in this car. You have leather along the entire door panel here. A lot of the switchgear looks like it's carried over from the previous Mustang. The windows are one touch up and down for the two front windows. No memory seats obviously on this one because it's not power. And then the steering wheel you can see is adjusting tilt and telescoping, which is nice. And then it's been completely redesigned this year. Now I do want to point out that the plastics in this vehicle, you can see on the airbag cover in particular, Ford used to have like an animal skin textured injection molded plastic. Now they've gone with this material that they call white noise. It feels a little bit more, to me, it feels a little bit cheaper, but they're saying this is a more modern look to it. I love the new steering wheel design with the running horse, the flat bottom design. Ford used to not have that on regular Mustangs. You can see the grip itself for the 9 and 3 is just thicker. You have some carbon fiber looking trim here, along with your buttons for your adaptive cruise control, which Ford says is available with all of their Ford Copilot 360s, although I don't believe you can get Blue Cruise in this vehicle. And then you can see here controls for your audio information. The interior itself just kind of fits me like a glove. It's kind of very driver focused, which again reminds you that this is a driver's car. Now in terms of the dashboard here, you can see it's got more of that faux carbon fiber. You have real stitching here on the lower part of the dash, which is nice. I believe Ford has never done with the stitching here. Up here in the upper portion, you can see it has that white noise textured soft touch injection molded plastic with the Mustang logo over there. The Bang & Olufsen stereo. I believe this car has either 12 speakers in here. I haven't had a chance to hear it, but Ford says it's much improved over the previous generation. Down over here in the center console, you can see my tester has a 6-speed manual. Hashtag save the manuals. The shift throws feel really good. They're actually nice and short. They have a nice satisfying click. And then when you go into reverse, you basically have to manhandle it all the way over to the left and then push over, although for some reason the backup camera wasn't turning on. The clutch itself definitely feels heavy, but it also has a nice short travel, which I like. I'm not going to get a chance to drive this vehicle, obviously, just yet. Over here you can see there's also a wireless phone charging pad, and then over here Ford has definitely simplified the buttons and switches. The old Mustang had those kind of toggles that you can get. Now we kind of just have this touch-sensitive panel here that allows you to get to shortcuts like your traction control, your drive mode selector, auto start stop. There's your push button start, and then you still have a volume knob. But if you're looking for the climate control, you can see that's now in the screen. It's in this lower part here that stays put. So that's kind of good. This is very similar to the Mustang Mach-E. You can see here are the graphics that I was telling you about by Unreal Engine. It basically allows you to kind of adjust a certain graphics. You can also spin around the car, which is really cool. This reminds me a lot of a video game. And you can even go to like your track apps here. You can activate the line lock, launch control, rev match, the lap timer, braking performance, all that stuff. It's very much like Gran Turismo almost. It's very, very upscale modern. This is going to appeal to a lot of the younger nerds out there who've always wanted to get a Mustang. It reminds you a lot of a video game. And then over here on the screen, you can see it does have all your usual sources like wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, over-the-air updates like I mentioned. You have embedded factory GPS, but really when you push the horse logo here and go into this is where you're going to really be able to customize the Mustang to your liking. I also want to show you guys this other neat trick, cluster. When you go to the cluster theme here, you can see there are several different cluster themes. This is the normal looking display. It's very similar to the 2-dial look. Ford decided to go with a copper look as opposed to the ice blue. There's also a sport mode here that changes the way it looks there. There's a track that gives you a tack basically front and center. There's a comm screen for those of you who don't want all that stuff. And then look at this one. This is called Fox Body. It basically looks like the gauge cluster from an 87 to 93 Mustang, and it even lights up green at night. So again, for those of you who love your old Fox Body, the new one kind of gives you an homage, that throwback, and I think it's a really cool feature that Ford, again, was taking advantage of the heritage of this vehicle. I think that's a great thing. Over here on the center console, you can see there's a lot of leather stitching over here. And then I want to point out one thing. This parking brake, it looks like a traditional e-brake where you pull, right? So Ford decided to leave a traditional e-brake. For a lot of you old school people out there, mechanical handbrake, no. This is actually an electronic e-drift brake is what Ford calls it. When you go into the track apps here, you can see there's an option for drift brake. This is only on the performance package models. And this lever here, when you pull up on it, it actually returns back to center. You use this to literally do J-turns in this car and pull this, and it'll automatically apply the brakes, and it'll do it in the correct speed that allows you to do those power tailgating slides or tail-out slides in this vehicle. And when you want to use it as a regular brake, you basically pull it up, it goes back to center. When you want to release the brake, you put your foot on the brake and then push down on that, and that will actually lower the parking brake. It's a really interesting design. I've never seen that before. Ford says it's a class exclusive feature. It's going to take some getting used to, but I think for those of you who want to learn how, or you're a novice at drifting, you want to learn how to do those J-turns, the fact that Ford did this really shows you this car is built by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. I think it's a great thing. Now over here you can see center console. It's pretty much very similar to the previous generation. You can see this center console area is covered with the same kind of leather stitching. With the stitching itself, Ford says the stitching is actually a little bit closer together and it's a little bit tighter. They say they wanted this interior to feel a lot more premium, and I think they've certainly done that. The glove compartment here, you can see it's not damped or lined with felt, but I will say that this is a very early pre-production car, so I'm not going to judge interior quality too much, but for a very early prototype, it's actually screwed together pretty well. Now there is a back seat back here, and I'm going to torture myself and get back there and show you guys what it's like. But as I climb back over here, first of all, to get back here, you pull on this lever here, and I'm surprised it didn't actually pull the seat forward. Now, there is a lever back here that I can pull, but that actually doesn't pull the seat forward. Again, very early prototype car, but just for kicks, I'll get back here and show you guys what the space is like. Now, this is my driving position over here. Oh, now the Mustang has never really been a great family car, but I have to say, for somebody who's 5'7", as you can see, my hair is literally touching the ceiling of this thing. Legroom back here, the old one had around 29 inches of legroom. I'd say this is pretty similar. Really, what your limiting factor is the headroom here. So somebody even my height, where I'm a shorter guy, has my head hitting the roof. I mean, I can sit back here and be relatively comfortable, but as soon as you hit a bump, which I suspect this one here is going to have a harsher ride, your head's going to go doing, basically right into the ceiling. So because we live in a world where electrification and self-driving cars are a thing that's coming in the near future,
Twitch. Boy, Chewy.
Fucking Christ. Oh my God. Go through the window.
I think it could work. I would need practice, though. No! You bitch! Go for the fucking goal! Fuck! It's out! Go for the fucking goal! Fuck! Go for the fucking... Where are you? Fuck! You fucking rat pussy bitch! Lucky!
No. Alright guys, I'm getting this hoodie right here. It's really like badass. Dominating. Also getting this as well. These shirts just look so badass. Like I literally love these. These look so badass. Holy shit. Oh boy, VHD.
I'm gonna snap the horse's balls with this dampened kitchen towel.
I just started.
Oh my God! Holy crap, he's out of control!
Does that look real?
Plan B! Plan B!
What it is, guys?
Oh my God! Holy crap, he's out of control!
Does that look real?
Plan B! Plan B!
What it is, guys? It's your boy Blasphemous HD and live.
I will try to finish this, but this is a long ass video. So I have to get some assignments done, so I kind of got to, get off. So actually, forgot playing FNAF 1. I'm not gonna get off yet. I almost completely forgot. So I would have just ended. Everyone would be like, I thought you were gonna play FNAF 1. I'm like, oh god, whoops. would have been pissed if Freddy. I would have been pissed if Freddy had just killed me right there. If Freddy had killed me right now, pissed. Oh my god, I'm so pissed had I died right there. What the hell? The thing glitched? School tomorrow. I'm gonna end right here. You can enjoy. You can check my chat anytime, see if anybody talks. I don't want to leave and somebody's like responding. So I'm gonna go.